A plane lands. You step off. No visa. No embassy interviews. No red tape. Just a stamp, and you're in. Weeks later, you're holding a legal residency card. No one's talking about it, but in 2025, everything's changing. While headlines obsess over pricey golden visas and $500,000 property buys, a quiet global shift is unfolding. Countries are quietly tearing down immigration barriers, and Americans are walking straight in. No loopholes. No catch. Just new laws, fast paths, and doors swinging wide open. So why is no one talking about it? Because these 10 countries are flipping the script, offering Americans legal residency with zero visa stress. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you might be packing your bags. Number 10, Georgia. Rising rent, flickering power, and youth unemployment soaring past 29%, Georgia, the once tech-friendly Caucasus gem, is starting to buckle under pressure in 2025. In Tbilisi, rent prices have exploded, up over 40% in just a year. And guess what's fueling it? Not locals, foreign digital nomads looking for a cheap base. Meanwhile, rural areas are facing more and more power blackouts. Inflation? It's creeping above 11%, but wages are barely moving. Sounds rough, right? So here's the twist. Despite all this, thousands of Americans are still flocking to Georgia. Why? Because Georgia is doing something bold, offering 365 days of visa-free living for U.S. passport holders. No paperwork. No interviews. You literally land, and you stay. And it gets better. In 2025, they expanded their Remotely from Georgia program. Now, if you're a remote worker earning at least $2,000 a month from outside the country, you can get a 1-year renewable residency, completely online. No embassies. No red tape. The Georgian government knows what it's doing. They're walking a tightrope, welcoming foreign income without granting citizenship. Americans move in, bring their dollars, rent homes, spend money, and for now, that's keeping the economy breathing. But here's the million-dollar question. How long can Georgia keep playing this game before locals say, enough? Rents skyrocketing. Wages are lagging. Neighborhoods are shifting. If you've been dreaming of a legal, visa-free gateway to Europe-adjacent living, Georgia might be your golden ticket. But don't be fooled, it's also a pressure cooker. And sooner or later, something's gonna give. Number 9, Mexico. Crime's rising, prices are climbing, and more locals are being pushed out of their own cities. Yep, Mexico in 2025 isn't quite the dreamy, budget paradise some still imagine. Grocery bills? Up 32%. Rent in once affordable hotspots like Playa del Carmen, Puerto Vallarta, and even Mexico City? Spiked over 45%. And cartel violence? Sadly, it's creeping back into tourist zones. Places like Jalisco and Guanajuato are reporting murder rates that sound more like war zones than vacation spots. So why, despite all this, are Americans still pouring in and staying legally? Because for U.S. passport holders, Mexico's door is wide open. You can enter visa-free for up to 180 days. But here's what most people miss, that's just the surface. Behind the scenes, thousands are going after something way more powerful, Mexico's temporary resident visa. And in 2025, it's easier than ever to get. No need to buy property. No need to land a job. Don't even need to speak Spanish. If you can prove you make around $3,300 a month, or that you've had $55,000 in your bank account over the past year, you're in. No tricky interviews. No endless paperwork. You can even apply from inside Mexico. Once approved, you're legally allowed to stay 1 to 4 years, with a clear path to permanent residency after that. So yeah, you can legally live in Mexico, with just a bank statement. And more Americans are doing exactly that, leaving behind high-cost cities in the US and trading them for laid-back beach towns, colorful colonial cities, and peaceful mountain villages. But here's the flip side. While many Americans are living better for less, locals are being priced out of their own communities. Gentrification is picking up speed. Resentment is simmering. And the big question, how long before Mexico decides to clamp down? This isn't just an open-door policy, it's a pressure point. And we're keeping an eye on it. Now, wait until you hear what's happening next on the list. It might just catch you off guard. Number 8, Paraguay. Corruption at the top, an immigration office that's barely keeping up, and a healthcare system under real strain, and yet, Paraguay has quietly become one of the fastest, cheapest ways for Americans to snag legal residency in 2025. Sounds unbelievable, right? Wait till you hear how. It all started with a legal shakeup. In 2022, Paraguay reformed Law 6984, and here's the part no one's really talking about: they scrapped the $5,000 bank deposit that used to be mandatory. That's huge. Now, Americans can just hop on a plane, enter visa-free, hand over a few basic documents, like a clean FBI background check and a birth certificate, and walk away with a 2-year temporary residence permit. That's it. No interviews. No pricey investments. No high-income requirements. And get this, in 2025, things got even smoother. The backlog? Cleared. The wait times? Down to just a few weeks in most cases. So why isn't this making headlines? Because most people don't realize just how far this path goes. After just 21 months, you can upgrade to permanent residency and even start the countdown to citizenship. But here's the part that blows every other country out of the water: Paraguay doesn't require you to live there full-time to keep your residency. You can come and go, stay flexible, and still stay legal. For savvy Americans, this isn't just a visa, it's a legal loophole hiding in plain sight. And right now, it's wide open. Number 7, Panama. Let's be real, Panama's economy in 2025 is starting to wobble. The only thing keeping it from completely falling off the map? A steady stream of foreign cash, some lingering banking secrecy, and the fact that it runs on the US dollar. But even that foundation's starting to crack. Skyscrapers in Panama City? Half empty. Corruption investigations? Piling up. The middle class? Shrinking faster than anyone expected. So why, despite all this, are thousands of Americans still moving there quietly? Because Panama's friendly nations visa isn't just legal, it's ridiculously easy. As a US citizen, you can walk in visa-free. From there, getting permanent residency is as simple as opening a local bank account, buying property worth $200,000 or more, or landing a job with a Panamanian company. That's it. No massive deposits. No piles of confusing paperwork. And here's the kicker: once you're approved, you don't even have to stay. You can leave Panama and still keep your residency active. Seriously, how many countries let you do that? This isn't just about escaping high prices or burnout. It's about building leverage, having a legal, international plan B without jumping through a dozen bureaucratic hoops. And before we move on, if you're finding these hidden legal pathways as eye-opening as we are, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. You won't believe what's waiting at number 6. Number 6, Uruguay. So, what happens when a country once celebrated for being calm, safe, and progressive starts quietly unraveling behind the scenes. That's the big question facing Uruguay in 2025. For years, it's been seen as South America's golden child: stable politics, progressive policies, and a peaceful vibe. But now, the shine is fading. Economic growth? Barely moving. The population? Aging fast. And the economy? Heavily tied to just a few exports: beef, soy, and dairy. At first glance, that might seem manageable. But here's the scary part: over 55% of Uruguay's exports rely on those few commodities. So if global prices drop, or if demand shifts, it's like pulling the rug out from under the entire economy. And guess what? That's exactly what's happening. Climate change is wreaking havoc on harvests, while plant-based alternatives are slowly eating into traditional markets. The safety net Uruguay once had? It's wearing thin. Meanwhile, youth unemployment is stuck around 20%. One of the highest rates in Latin America. The younger generation? They're not sticking around. More and more are heading off to Argentina, Brazil, even Spain, looking for better chances and bigger futures. That quiet brain drain means fewer workers, less innovation, and shrinking tax revenue. It doesn't happen overnight, but over time, it hits hard. And don't let the country's peaceful image fool you. Violent crime is on the rise, especially around ports and coastal areas where drug trafficking is gaining ground. Just last year, Uruguay saw a 25% spike in violent crime. Yeah, 25%. So here's the real question. What happens when a country is too small to make noise on the global stage, but too connected to go it alone? Is Uruguay slowly drifting toward a quiet collapse while the rest of the world isn't even paying attention? Let us know what you think in the comments, and stay tuned, because what's coming up next might be even more surprising. Number 5, Ecuador. Rolling blackouts in the capital, inflation surging into double digits practically overnight, and a wave of violent crime hitting once tranquil cities like Cuenca and Manta. Ecuador isn't just struggling, it's coming apart at the seams. In just the past 12 months, over 430,000 people have packed up and left. That's more than triple the emigration numbers from just 2 years ago. Most are heading for the US or Spain. So, what the heck happened? But before we unpack it, hit that subscribe button so we can keep giving you these updates before they hit the mainstream radar. Alright, back to Ecuador. One of the biggest shockwaves hit in August 2023, when presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio was assassinated. That single moment didn't just shake the country, it rattled every institution to its core. Investors panicked. Businesses froze hiring. Confidence vanished overnight. And suddenly, Ecuador was lighting up every global watch list. Their economy? It leans hard on oil exports. But it's a double whammy: global oil prices have slipped, and Ecuador's own production has been hampered by sabotage and crumbling infrastructure. Now throw in a weakening US dollar. Remember, Ecuador doesn't have its own currency, and the floor beneath their economy starts to look dangerously thin. And it gets darker. In Guayaquil, a major economic center, extortion cases have tripled since 2022. Gangs are tightening their grip, especially around critical ports. Logistics? A nightmare. Families who once lived modest but stable lives are now scraping by, and sending loved ones abroad just to survive. Even the IMF is sounding the alarm. They're projecting Ecuador's fiscal deficit to balloon past 5% of GDP by the end of the year. That's catastrophic in a dollarized economy, because with no central bank, Ecuador can't just print money to patch the holes. And here's what's most heartbreaking: it's not just workers leaving anymore. It's doctors, engineers, skilled professionals who've lost faith in the future. At this point, we're way past political gridlock. This is a survival crisis. One missed oil shipment, one more political assassination, a regional conflict, and Ecuador could spiral into full-scale collapse. So ask yourself this. What happens to a country when its greatest hope is to leave it behind? Number 4, Belize. Soaring prices, growing violence, and a healthcare system barely hanging on. This isn't just a rough patch for Belize, it's a warning sign of something much bigger unraveling beneath the surface. Once known as a laid-back haven for retirees and digital nomads, Belize is now showing serious cracks. In just the last 2 years, the cost of living has spiked over 15%, and in some areas, grocery prices have nearly doubled. But wages? Barely budging. For working-class families, it's turned into a day-by-day struggle just to make ends meet. And it's not just the economy. Safety is becoming a real concern. Take Belize City, violent crime there is up 30% since 2022. And in the countryside? Police departments are short-staffed, and emergency response is so delayed, some areas are basically on their own when things go wrong. Now add to that a healthcare system in crisis, patients waiting weeks, even months, just to get basic treatments. You start to see a country that's buckling under pressure from all sides. But here's the million-dollar question. If this trend keeps going, how long before Belize stops being the paradise so many once dreamed of? This isn't just about expats thinking twice. It's about local families quietly planning to leave, small business owners watching their foot traffic dry up, and tourists crossing Belize off their bucket list altogether. Tourism makes up about 40% of the country's GDP, and while the sector took a beating during the pandemic, recovery has been painfully slow. Now with inflation and safety fears keeping travelers hesitant, that rebound is starting to look more like a stall. And yet, property prices are still climbing, even as locals can't afford rent. Public hospitals are falling apart, while brand new luxury resorts pop up along the coast. So what's going on? When the gap between a country's image and its everyday reality gets too wide, there's only one direction things can go. Collapse becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Number 3, Costa Rica. Striking healthcare workers, rent prices doubling in hotspots like Tamarindo, and a growing clash between eco-policies and everyday reality, Costa Rica in 2025 is a country under serious pressure. Entire neighborhoods are now dealing with rolling blackouts, water shortages, and overloaded infrastructure. And the mood is shifting. Locals are speaking up more than ever about the foreign influx that's reshaping their communities. So the big question, why are Americans still lining up to move there? Simple. Despite the rising tension, Costa Rica still offers one of the most flexible and welcoming residency systems in the Americas. No visa is needed to enter. And once you're in, there are multiple ways to go legal without jumping through hoops. Have a pension or social security income of at least $1,000 per month? You qualify for the pension-ado residency, no age limit, no need to buy property, and no heavy tax on that income. Not retired? No problem. The rentista visa lets you live off savings or freelance income. Just show $2,500 per month or make a one-time $60,000 deposit in a Costa Rican bank, which is refundable. And in 2025, the game really changed. The digital nomad visa got a major upgrade. Now you only need to prove $3,000 per month in foreign income to qualify. You'll get tax exemptions, flexible work rules, and streamlined access to public health care. So yeah, you can actually live near the beach, keep your US income tax-free, and be 100% legal. And here's the kicker, you don't even have to live there full-time. Most visas let you take short trips away without losing your residency. Stick around a few years and you're eligible for permanent residency. Citizenship? just 7 years away. Costa Rica knows what it's doing. It's betting big on foreigners to help prop up the economy. But let's be real, how long can that last before locals demand changes? If you're dreaming of a legal, affordable, low-stress life abroad, Costa Rica might just be your best move in 2025. But don't wait too long, opportunities like this have a habit of disappearing fast. Number 2. Colombia. Let's talk about Colombia, because things are shifting fast, and not in a good way. Drug-related violence is climbing again, inflation won't let up, and foreign investors? They're backing off. This was the comeback kid of Latin America not long ago, but now, it's starting to unravel. Cities like Bogotá and Medellín, once the poster children for innovation and cool travel spots, are showing real cracks beneath all that glossy surface. So, why are Americans quietly packing up and leaving? Oh, and before we dive in, if you're finding this info eye-opening, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us keep digging into stories most people aren't covering. Okay, back to Colombia. According to the Ministry of Commerce, foreign direct investment plunged nearly 32% in 2024. That's not just a dip, it's billions of dollars that never showed up. On top of that, the Colombian peso? It's taken a beating, down over 17% in just 18 months. And that's hitting everyone hard, whether you're a local or an expat. Inflation spiked to over 11% earlier this year, making even budget living a stretch, even in so-called cheap cities. Medellín rents have skyrocketed, up 40% in just 2 years, and utility bills? Those are seeing wild monthly jumps too. And it gets worse. Neighborhoods that used to feel safe are now seeing a rise in organized crime. And it's not just petty theft, we're talking serious shifts that have people nervous. Add to that ongoing protests, political unrest, and pushback against President Petro's reforms, especially around pensions and labor laws, and it's a tense situation. Clashes, curfews, business closures, it's not the Colombia expats dreamed of. And let's be real, safety is becoming a major concern. According to the Peace and Reconciliation Foundation, homicides in rural areas rose by 18% in 2024. In fact, U.S. citizens in some towns have been directly warned to leave, or go home. So, what does this all mean? Is Colombia's expat dream officially over? Or are we just in a temporary rough patch? Whatever the case, one thing is clear, Colombia isn't the sure bet it used to be. And if you're considering a move or already living there, it might be time to take another look. Number 1, Thailand. Rents in American cities are through the roof. The work stress? Off the charts. And the cost of just existing is pushing people to their breaking point. So what are thousands of Americans doing? They're quietly packing up and heading to Thailand. This isn't some tourist getaway. This is a full-on lifestyle shift. People are ditching the 9-to-5 grind, cutting loose from burnout culture, and finding something most of us dream about: peace, affordability, and freedom. Now picture this, you're still earning in US dollars, but you're living somewhere your entire monthly expenses, rent, food, healthcare, utilities, are less than what you'd pay for a cramped apartment in LA. In Chiang Mai, you could be living comfortably on just $900 to $1,200 a month. Even in Bangkok, where city life is buzzing, a modern, central lifestyle rarely breaks $1,500. That's less than just rent in places like Miami or San Francisco. But it's not just about cost. Thailand's rolling out a 10-year long-term resident visa, and it's a game changer. It's aimed at remote workers, digital nomads, and retirees. All you need is proof of $80,000 annual income, or even $40,000 if you've got a master's degree and work in industries like tech or healthcare. That's it. Healthcare? Thailand's one of Asia's best-kept secrets. World-class hospitals, English-speaking doctors, and surgeries that cost 90% less than in the US. A procedure that'd be $30,000 back home? You could get it done for $3,000 in Bangkok, often faster, and sometimes with better care. And here's what's wild: in 2024 alone, Thailand saw a 32% spike in long-term American residents. Not tourists. Not backpackers. People relocating. Permanently. So what's happening here? Is this Southeast Asian nation quietly becoming the go-to escape route for Westerners fleeing high costs and burnout? Or are we witnessing the start of a much bigger shift? Because the numbers aren't lying, this isn't just travel. It's a quiet revolution. And more Americans are joining it every single day.